Radha Ramana Hari Govind Jai Jai.
Bhagavad-gita. We want to talk about Supreme Lord, Supreme Personality, Supreme Absolute Truth. In Vedic literature it explains, where's everything coming from? Janmad yasi yataha. The Absolute Truth is that from which everything comes, and everything exists within it, and in the end everything goes into it. This is the Absolute Truth. Prabhupada explains in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam that there's a concept of God, the controller, but the Absolute Truth is more than that. For example, God creates the universe, and then what? Maybe he goes away and leaves it. So the universe is in some way separate from him. But the universe isn't separate from the Absolute Truth. It comes from the Absolute Truth, and it remains within the Absolute Truth, and then it goes into the Absolute Truth again. In the Vedic literatures it's explained, there's so many different religions, so many ideas about what the truth is. Many people think that it's oneness. The divine light, the oneness, and they want to melt into the oneness. Love without an object. They want love, but they don't want to love anyone in particular. They don't think God's a person, but love anyway. What kind of love's that? Anyway, this is their idea. In the Vedic literatures, so it resolves this kind of confusion. So it says that the Supreme Absolute Truth appears in three different features. Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaniti, Shabjite. It's the same Absolute Truth, the same non-dual, means it's, even though it's only one substance, not many substances, but yet he is presenting himself in three different ways according to the inclination of the person, practitioner. So the example is given, a mountain. If you're a long way away from the mountain, it's kind of vague, hazy. And then you come closer and you see, it has peaks, maybe snow on the top. And then you come closer still and you're walking and you see there's people, there's goats and trees and flowers, like that. Or the train. Prabhupada gives the example of the train. When the trains first came in India, so the British laid down the railway tracks. And then everyone's wondering, what's going to happen? These villages. And at last, somebody see a light coming in the distance. Everyone said, "Whoa, it's a light." And he ran back to the village and said, "Hey, I've seen it. It's a light." But another one thought, "Hey, I want to see what happens when it comes closer." So and then it comes closer and he sees, there's a big car or something on the front and then boxes behind it. So he ran back to the village and he told them what he'd seen. But somebody else said, no, I'm going to find out all about this. He waited, it stopped in the station, and he got on, there's carriages, there's people sitting there, he could sit and talk with the people. So these are like three different aspects of the Absolute Truth. One person thinks, it's light, it's spiritual light. And then another person, he sees that it has form, but he doesn't have any relationship with that form. And another person, he sees the light and he sees the form, but then he has a personal relationship. So Brahman, that's the effulgence of the body of the Supreme Lord. Krishna says in Bhagavad-gita, Brahmano hi pratishtaham. I'm the basis of impersonal Brahman. The impersonalists think that the Supreme Absolute Truth is just oneness, and Krishna is some material object appearing out of the oneness. But Krishna says, no, it's the other way around. You think somebody at the office, he's a person, or say a bank clerk. He's just giving out money. It's completely impersonal. But he's a person. And when he gets home, he'll be personal. So which is more important? The personal aspect or the impersonal aspect? The personal aspect is more complete. But that personal aspect, that person can take on an impersonal aspect. So similarly, the Supreme Lord, he has his impersonal aspect for those who can only cope with pure, undifferentiated knowledge. Chit. Lord is Sat Chit Ananda. Ishvara Parama Krishna, Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha. His very form composed of eternity, knowledge and bliss. So when it's just pure, undifferentiated knowledge, without any qualities, without any personality, so that's Brahman. And then, Super Soul. You see the form. There's some interaction. but not personal relationship. So, super soul, this Paramatma. Individual soul is called Atma, and the super soul called Paramatma. Within every soul, within every soul, and within every atom. This is Paramatma. So he's directing everything. Ishvara Sarva Bhutama. Hridesha Junatishthati. He's situated with the heart, within the heart, and he's directing the wanderings of all the living entities. Somebody wants to commit sinful activities and goes to hell. Go to hell. Okay, you do. And somebody wants to commit perform pious activities and go to heaven. Okay. And when the time comes, so then we'll meet with pure devotees, and we'll begin to take up devotional service. So Paramatma, Super Soul, he's neutral. He's the witness, but he's completely neutral. And then the third aspect, so Paramatma, Super Soul, this is Sat and Chit. Eternity, like eternal identity, personal identity, and Chit, knowledge. And then Bhagavan, Sat Chit Ananda. There's also the bliss of interaction. So Bhagavan, this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's the supreme enjoyer, and we find fulfillment in helping him to enjoy. Like parent, the baby's there. So the parents want the baby to be happy. And when the baby's happy, they're happy. They're tickling, and when the baby laughs, everyone's laughing. So Krishna's like that. He's so easy to please, actually. Krishna is so easy to please. And when we please Krishna, automatically we become pleased, by nature, because of the relationship, by nature. So he's the supreme enjoyer, and we become happy by helping him to enjoy. And that's called service. But it's not like here, where you get a uniform and you have to be paid so much because you're standing out in the cold and doing things you don't want to do. Service in the spiritual world is so glorious, so wonderful. Bhagavan, why he's called Bhagavan? Because he possesses Bhaga. He possesses opulences. Wealth. Krishna is so rich. When he was in Dwarka, so he had 16,108 queens. For each one there's a palace. And then palaces for the children. There was palaces for all the teachers. And everywhere, gold, jewels, rubies. Fabulous wealth. You couldn't imagine how much wealth there was. So he's more wealthy than anybody in the world. He's more famous. Still, Krishna spoke 5,000 years ago, he spoke Bhagavad-gita, and still people are reciting Bhagavad-gita, discussing Bhagavad-gita, explaining Bhagavad-gita. This is fame. Who else is quoted 5,000 years after they're alive? Who? He's most famous. Prabhupada, like Prabhupada said, you go anywhere and people say Hare Krishna. Krishna's famous. He's very beautiful. Krishna's so beautiful. And so many descriptions, especially Krishna in Vrindavan. Krishna in Vrindavan is the most beautiful of the most beautiful. When anyone has darshan of Krishna, they can never forget. If you remember something beautiful in this material world, you forget. But darshan of Krishna, you can never forget. So beautiful. And Krishna in Vrindavan, he's more beautiful than anyone else. Even Maha-Vishnu, he made a whole elaborate trick so that Krishna and Arjuna had to go and see him so that he could get darshan of Krishna. But we don't hear that Krishna made an elaborate arrangement so that he could get darshan of Maha-Vishnu. But Krishna is so beautiful and so strong also. When he was just 6 days old, he killed Putana. Putana was so powerful. Before that, Putana was fighting with Kamsa. Kamsa was he was like 10,000 elephants. He had the strength of 10,000 elephants. He was so strong. For fun, he used to throw elephants a long way. He was fighting with Putana, and he couldn't win. And in the end, he said, okay, we'll become friends. We'll be like brother and sister. So Putana was so powerful. And when Krishna was just 6 days old, and she came to poison him with poison on her breast, so he started sucking, and he sucked out her life air. And she was trying to push off. Couldn't get him away. He's so strong. Just a little baby. And Mother Yashoda, when Krishna's sucking her breast, and the milk boils over. I've got to look after the milk. No, Krishna doesn't want it. Put him down, just with one hand. It's the nature of love. Her love is so strong. Krishna is so knowledgeable. He understands everything. He knows everything. A super soul, he knows everything that's going on in the world. And more, in the spiritual world also. And then, renunciation. He's completely renounced. He's not attached to all these things. Krishna was alone in the forest with millions and millions of gopis. And a finger snap he just left. Oh, he left to be with Srimati Radharani. He's the most beautiful of all. And then the finger snap he left her as well. So it seemed. So these are the opulences of the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. More or less, it's this God who's being worshipped in the other theistic religions, like in Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Sikhism. But they know more or less about him. They sort of understand that he's a person. They may or may not know that he's got a form, that he lives in a particular place, that he has names. But it's the same person. Isha Prabhu, my godbrother, he told me that just recently there was, first of all, the chief rabbi from Israel. He went to India and he met with representatives of about 50 different Hindu groups. And they made an agreement that we're worshipping the same God. And then subsequently, representatives of those groups, they went to Israel and they made a second agreement that we're actually worshipping the same God. Isn't it amazing? So same God in Christianity, Judaism, but then that's the same God as in Islam, in Christianity. So this is Bhagavan. Bhagavan, he has limitless, wonderful qualities. And the main quality is mercy to the fallen conditioned souls. He appears himself, he sends scriptures, he sends his devotees, he appears as a deity who's none different from himself, and he appears as his holy name. And then, Bhaktivedanta, he's very affectionate to his devotees. He looks after them. Like when the demigods were churning the ocean of milk. So Lord Vishnu made so many arrangements to help them. He was sitting as an incarnation on the top of Mandara mountain. And then when the mountain disappeared into the ocean of milk, so he came as Kurmavatar, the tortoise. And he held the mountain up. Krishna had an itch. So they were churning with Vasuki. And the mountain of gold, this gigantic mountain of gold, was rotating on his shelf. He was scratching his itch, he was happy. And then when the demons got hold of the nectar, so then Krishna appeared as Mohini and bewildered them and got the nectar back and gave it to the demigods. In so many ways, he's protecting his devotees. Even he's prepared to break his own vow. Krishna is the supreme absolute truth, but to protect the vow of his devotee, he'll break his own vow. Like when Bhishma had 5 arrows. He swore that somehow the Duryodhana got him to swear that he was going to kill the Pandavas with these 5 arrows. And Duryodhana said, okay, I'll take those arrows. Keep them safe. So then that evening, Krishna said to Arjuna, you go to Duryodhana, you ask, he's got 5 arrows, you get those 5 arrows from him. Krishna went, and because in the evening they're friendly. So he got the 5 arrows. Next day, Bhishma Dev said to Duryodhana, today I will kill the Pandavas. Give me the arrows. Duryodhana said, no, Arjuna came and took them. And Bhishma Dev was so angry. He said, this is Krishna. Oh, he wants me to break my vow? Then I'll make a vow. I'll fight so strongly, either he'll have to see Arjuna killed, or he'll have to break his own vow, because Krishna had vowed that he wouldn't fight in the battle of Kurukshetra. In the end, Bhishma Dev fought so strongly, Arjuna was just about to be killed. Krishna picked up the wheel of a chariot, went running at Bhishma Dev to kill him with a chariot. Bhishma said, oh, Krishna's come to kill me. He dropped down his weapons. And then, conscience blew. So to break his own vow, Krishna is prepared to protect the vow of his devotees. And with Mother Yashoda said, have you been eating dirt? Actually, Krishna had been eating dirt. Not dirt, it's like the dust of Vrindavan. He said, everybody's interested in this dust. What is it? What's the taste? So he's tasting. And the Mother Yashoda said, you've been eating dirt? He said, no. He's lying. Why? Because children tell lies to please their parents. When the children they tell such amazing whoppers. And the parents are so happy. So here, to please his parents, he's telling lies. even though he's the Supreme Lord, the absolute truth. So there's two ways of worshipping the Supreme Lord. One in awe and reverence, and that worship leads to Vaikuntha. Like in South India, for example. They're worshipping in awe and reverence, and the whole idea is to go to Vaikuntha. And then sweetness. Like in Vrindavan, they don't think that he's the Supreme Lord. Artificially, we can't worship like that. Actually, we have to understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then hearing from the pure devotee, then we'll get the full story. We'll hear the sweetness, and gradually that mood of awe and reverence will be replaced by the moods of sweetness that we get from the pure devotees. Therefore, we have to hear from the pure devotee, from the lotus lips of the pure devotee. Not just read books. Books we have to read anyway, but as much as possible we should hear. And then also there's Audarya, munificence. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's in a class of his own. He's sweet, sweeter than sweet, and also very, very merciful. So in Goloka it's sweetness, and in Gauramandal, in Navadvip, Mayapur, mercy. Like for example, Krishna, when he broke the yogurt pot, so Mother Yashoda tied him up. But in Mayapur, Satchidananda Gaura Hari, he broke dozens and dozens of pots. Mother Yashoda didn't say anything. So, Mayapur is more merciful than Vrindavan. And those who worship Vishnu, when they reach perfection, so they'll go to Vaikuntha. Those who worship Radha and Krishna only, when they reach perfection, which is difficult, then they'll go to Vrindavan. Those who worship Gaura only, they'll go to take birth in Gaura Lila. But in our line, following from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, worshipping both Gauranga and Radha and Krishna, so the devotee gets two spiritual bodies. Same devotee, two spiritual bodies, one in Gaura Lila and one in Krishna Lila. Inconceivable. So this is a speciality of our Gaudiya Sampradaya. Hare Krishna.